From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week. We are ecstatic. You are tuning us in as we power our way into 2026. The new year is here, and there's always a lot of things to get into sports-wise. But even though the Minnesota Vikings are on the sidelines for the NFL playoffs this season, they are still very much in the news cycle. Boy, there's a lot of stuff swirling around the purple. Let's start with Harrison Smith. Let's start with the positives.
Okay.
A guy who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. He's got a lot of game left. One of the greatest safeties in Minnesota Vikings history. Do you think we've seen the last of number 22, or does he say after a month of decompressing that he wants to run it back?
Well, I think that a lot of that has to do with a decision that's going to come out with Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator. Are the Minnesota Vikings going to get the checkbook out? At the time of this recording, they hadn't made an announcement yet, but you would have to think that that is going on as we speak, trying to decide how much they're willing to pay this guy. And I think that they should maintain Brian Flores. And I think if Flores is back, there is a better than 50-50 chance you'll see Harrison Smith. If Flores doesn't come back, I think Harrison Smith will retire.
Yeah, good chance of Flores maybe being courted by somebody like Dallas, which now has a defensive coordinator opening down there in Texas. I think he deep down would like to be a head coach again, but he's got this lawsuit against the NFL. Some of the owners may view him as toxic. I think that's unfair, but who knows? Maybe Las Vegas or somebody offers him a chance to be the head coach. C.J. Ham, I think we've seen the last of number 30, the two-time Pro Bowler. He's up for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award representing Minnesota. That's a huge honor because that means you're not only good on the field, but you're an outstanding citizen away from the gridiron. And CJ just is a quality guy. I was at the Sunday game against Green Bay. They put him up on the Jumbotron. He's wiping away tears. He had his kid on the sidelines in the locker room. Fans love CJ. They love Harrison.
Yeah, and I heard some of the post interview with CJ. I don't necessarily think he is completely done as a player. I think obviously there aren't many fullback positions in the NFL. Not many teams carry a fullback.
Nope.
There's only a handful that carry a fullback. He probably is done, but I think in what I heard, he left the door open a little bit just in case something works out, whether it's with the Vikings or with somebody else. We might see him again, but heck, he's had a pretty good career for a fullback in a position that rarely do teams go out and make sure that they get one every year in the draft or in free agency.
It's a vanishing position, and he got a touchdown on Sunday. If he is done, he went out with a bang, scoring the only TD against Green Bay in that win. Now, quarterback.
Oh, boy.
It's the elephant in the room.
Really?
J.J. McCarthy, boy, what a roller coaster for him. He's now 2 years in to the NFL. I think he's got 9 or 10 starts, 5 injuries already. He's had flashes of brilliance, but he's also had a lot of games where you're like, what is he doing? So I think it's clear the Minnesota Vikings are going to have to bring somebody else in the offseason. March is when the NFL New Year begins. In my opinion, an established veteran quarterback, and it's open competition.
Well, Kirk Cousins is available, baby. I know you saw that headline earlier in the week. Yeah, as of March, 12th, Kirk Cousins. I made that projection, by the way, with tongue firmly planted in cheek. I don't know. Would that be the worst thing in the world? Of course, you'd have to figure out the money part of it. And really, for Kirk, that's really what it's all about anyway.
I think Atlanta restructured the deal so it may be more friendly to a potential suitor. He wouldn't be my number one choice.
But you'd have to take. Would you take him over a Carson Wentz?
Yes.
He was 5-2 down the stretch for Atlanta as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, and they finished hot, although it didn't save Raheem Morris and the general manager in Atlanta, Terry Fontenot. They both lost their jobs. He's certainly got to be in the mix. I think you may want to look to the East. Malik Willis was solid as a backup when Jordan Love went down in Green Bay. Maybe Minnesota poaches him from the Packers. You could have Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray. There will be a lot of names on the market, but they better get it right. Maybe Daniel Jones again.
Ooh.
How about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
It's a one-year deal in Pittsburgh, and they're in the playoffs. Maybe he goes back. Maybe he retires. Maybe he's on the market again.
The big question is, did the Minnesota Vikings learn their lesson from this? I heard one of their mouthpieces saying, well, this really wasn't their fault. Bad things happened. Wentz got hurt. McCarthy got hurt. Blah, 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 blah. You picked up Carson Wentz at the last minute.
It was desperation.
Yeah, of course it was. You didn't have a plan. Your plan was, well, we'll see what happens. Well, what happened was you basically trashed a season where you had potentially a team that could have made a run in the postseason.
What they did was give J.J. McCarthy a job he did not earn. I'm okay with you believing he might be your guy, but you can't just say, here, it's yours. They said goodbye to Sam Darnold for money reasons. You keep bringing up they could have franchised him, they should have franchised him. I believe Aaron Rodgers wanted to be in Minnesota before he bounced his, along the map into Pittsburgh. And Daniel Jones, maybe they could have offered him more money to keep him. So the Minnesota Vikings made huge mistakes at the most critical position in the NFL, quarterback, last offseason. They cannot repeat those mistakes, or there might be a regime change here in a year.
Yeah, could be. All right, we're going to talk some hockey next with a name that is familiar to most Minnesotans.
Yeah, Jack Jablonski going to join us. Stick around. We are 10K Takes Your Purple Pick.
Recovery isn't just for elite athletes. It's for anyone who wants to feel better in their body. At $5.10 in Wellness, our infrared sauna and red light therapy help reduce muscle soreness, improve circulation, and support faster recovery. Whether you're training hard, staying active, or just feeling worn down, infrared heat works deep into muscles and joints, while red light therapy supports cellular repair and inflammation reduction. No impact, no downtime. Athlete or not, your body does the work for you every day. Stop in at $5.10 Wellness and start recovering the smart way.
Life moves pretty fast, but not at Freddy's. When that first bite hits, you can't help but slow down. The secret to quality time is just quality and time. That's Freddy's.
Mom, what's wrong with them?
That's called quality time. Don't stare.
Stop by any one of Freddy's 6 Minnesota locations.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
Welcome back. Minnesota Scores 10,000 Takes continues. We're going to talk some hockey now with a guy who infamously lost the use of his arms and legs at the time of an accident. This is 14 years ago now. And of course, we're talking about Jack Jablonski, who at the time was playing hockey for Benilde St. Margaret's High School over in St. Louis Park. And Jack joins us now from California, where he worked for the Los Angeles Kings for the last 10 years. Now is a contributor for the Minnesota Wild. Jack, first of all, give us an update on what you're doing for the Minnesota Wild in with regard to media and so on.
Yeah, after 10 years with the LA Kings and a very thankful 10 years to the LA Kings, I parted ways in August and have now moved on to an independent media career within the hockey world and sports world, and have had a solid dialogue with the Minnesota Wild in my time with the Kings. Once the time came that I essentially became a free agent, opted to look into working with the Wild, and have since partnered with them in being a contributor on their podcast as someone who's going to be covering kind of the state of hockey storylines as the year goes on, as well as helped within the broadcast world, doing some media as a radio color commentator that I've had years of experience in, also with the Kings. So it's an open dialogue. It's obviously an area that is very near and dear to my heart, with all of the support from the Wild specifically, but of course the state of hockey itself. So excited to have the opportunity to work with them, and we'll see where things go.
And Jack, I know at your core, you're a Minnesota guy, but you do live out in SoCal still, and being a quadriplegic, weather's a huge thing as far as what you have to deal with. So that's more conducive to your condition, being out there in the mild temps, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have so much love for Minnesota. It's home. It's where so much support is within such a important part of my life. But unfortunately, with my spinal cord injury, I lost my ability to control my body temperature. So anything below 60 or 65 degrees and sunny, I'm quite uncomfortable with the inability to regulate and get used to the surroundings of the weather. So it has a huge effect on my body, from a health perspective and a recovery perspective, and just truly the daily living comfort. So as much as Minnesota is in my heart, California has definitely become a second home. I obviously live here. I've been out here for over 10 years, and it's a little bit of a split scenario with where my heart is, but overall, this is home right now.
Jack, and I think that when I think about the accident where you were injured, I think about what happened after that and the effects of that on the game of hockey. And I don't know if people realize, and now here we are 14 years later, I'm sure people who are tied into the world of hockey and were back then sure know, but all those little stop signs you see on the back of high school uniforms and on youth kids' uniforms, that's because of the accident that you incurred. And the changing in the NHL of the rule, the checking from behind rule became a major. I mean, these are things that changed the game of hockey. And obviously, you would rather not be in the position you are, but you have to know in your heart that maybe because of that this may be helping somebody else, that they don't have to go through this.
Yeah, absolutely. The injury itself, again, it's not something I would wish upon my worst enemy. And, we would need a multi-hour conversation to dive into the effect that it has on you on a daily basis. And, obviously don't need to get into that. But, in terms of what you're talking about, you're absolutely right. I think it became a huge talking point and a turning point in terms of realization of the effect that it can have on people if we don't play the game the right way. And, they changed the rules within high school hockey immediately. What you now have in terms of just, a 2-minute and a 10-minute, you've got game misconducts and suspensions automatically if you do check someone from behind at the, illegality that it is. And for me, like you mentioned, it's a humbling feeling to know that I've had the ability to at least positively impact people in terms of prevention. But most importantly, the awareness for people like myself who are in a wheelchair from a spinal cord injury, with my foundation and being able to use my voice to try to make a difference and help the quality of lives of those living with paralysis. There have been, a number of positives that have come from the injury. So at least we have that.
Yeah, and it would be really easy to say, why me? Play the what if game and drown yourself in sorrow. And I'm sure you've had those moments, but generally you've been upbeat, optimistic, and I know you say you're going to skate again. You believe that, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're totally right with that first part too, right? Like I think everybody, no matter whether you're disabled, you're able-bodied, or, you get a job or you don't get the job, whatever it may be, we all deal with, what if I would have done this? Or why me, having to face this adversity? And of course that's come across. And the reality is that you can't change the past, right? You can only make the best of what's in front of you. And it's something that took time while I dealt with therapy and both physical therapy and therapy of healing the process of what was going on in life. I have the ability to truly still make a difference, to still make the best of life. We're only guaranteed one life. You might as well make the most of it. And who knows what happens when the lights turn off on whatever day that ever comes. But for me, I had the ability to still continue chasing my dreams. I still have an opportunity to make a difference in the world. And that's what I'm trying to do.
When you do reflect on that fateful day, what comes to your mind first, and how often do you do that? Or do you try to just put it in the rearview mirror completely?
I mean, you ultimately try to put it in the rearview mirror, but I think you can understand that, some things just will bring it back, or, a random tick will remind you of what could have been, or, and it's the most random things, but you don't always realize the impact of how much it affects me on a daily basis. And that's the hard part of knowing the things that you miss out on life, whether it's becoming a fully independent human, it's getting your driver's license, it's, having independence and being able to go explore who you are, what you love in the world, and, the travel and stuff like that. So no question, I know that I've unfortunately missed out on a handful of things, but what I do know is that I still have an opportunity to live a great life and to, stay in the hockey world and still, follow and cover something that I love. And, while it's definitely not the life that I would have chosen to live at the age of 16, it's definitely something that I look back on and am proud of what I have accomplished, for sure.
Expound on the amount of support you've gotten from your family, which has been unbelievable. I know your brother Max went to USC when you did. The family retrofitted their house in Minneapolis to get it ready for somebody in a chair. And then the day-to-day difficulties you deal with. At the Winter Classic at Target Field a few years ago, your brother had to push the chair into the stadium because it was 10 degrees for a temp, and then getting onto an airline and all that stuff. You are dealing with things we don't even think about.
Yeah, and that's just the reality of someone who lives in a wheelchair due to paralysis. I don't think anybody realizes the magnitude and the effect that it has, not only on me as a human being, but your family and your friends and everybody around you. Planning day to day and making sure you have the care that you need, and the dedication or the time that so many people have to take out of their days just to help you live a normal-esque life is exponential. And that's what, my foundation is all about. It's improving the quality of the lives with those of the spinal cord injury. You want more independence. You want to be able to do things on your own. You don't want to depend on so many people, because you can, in reality, you wear people down. You take away from their lives of being able to live what they want to do. And the result is someone like myself, you end up feeling like a burden because you know how much you're taking away from someone else. And that's the trickle down effect. And, obviously, as things continue to improve within the spinal cord injury research world, there's more and more positivity towards people like myself having mass recoveries. It's going to take time. We know that. But at the same time, I'm here for the long haul.
Yeah. Well, Jack, thanks so much for giving us an update on where you are and what you're doing. I know Minnesota still wants to keep track of your progress, and we're rooting for you to someday get those skates back on for sure.
Hey, I greatly appreciate you guys for having me on, and I have no doubt that time will come, and that's what we're working towards.
Thanks, Jack. Enjoy the beach.
Thank you.
That's why he's out there. All right, he is Jack Jablonski joining us here on 10,000 Takes. Eric and I will be back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
Get in the game at St. Croix Casinos in Turtle Lake, Danbury, and Hertel, Wisconsin, your local destination for sports betting. Check out our sportsbook at St. Croix Casinos. From football and soccer to hockey and UFC, you can join the non-stop action. You'll find plenty of options to bet on with our cutting-edge Play Sports kiosks, whether placing live or prop wagers before tuning into the game. That's the book at Turtle Lake, the Red Zone at Danbury, and our sports betting kiosk at Hertel. Find your fortune at St. Croix Casinos.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
Life moves pretty fast, but not at Freddy's. When that first bite hits, you can't help but slow down. The secret to quality time is just quality and time. That's Freddy's.
Mom, what's wrong with them?
That's called quality time. Don't stare.
Stop by any one of Freddy's 6 Minnesota locations.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Thousand takes. NFL playoffs have arrived, and of course, Packer and Bear fans not living in Chicago, Milwaukee, or Green Bay are not happy because they can't watch the games on over-the-air television. The playoff game between the Bears and Packers, crazy business. But be that as it may, that's on Prime. Oh, by the way, so you have to have a Prime subscription to watch. There's more going on in the NFL. Some folks saying things that maybe they shouldn't have said, or
well, in some ways, it's very candid and honest. I'm going to bring up Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions, their head coach. If you go back to last season,
yes,
two of the top teams in the regular season clearly were Detroit and Minnesota, right?
Yep.
Now, they both flamed out in the postseason, but they came into this year with high hopes. The Lions did not make the playoffs. The Vikings did not make the playoffs. Earlier in the week, somebody said to Campbell, how do you grade this season? And he just looked into the camera and he said, we underperformed. I give myself an F. So Dan Campbell, no filter, throws it out into the universe. What kind of grade would you give the Purple and their head coach and their GM?
GM gets a C because he brought some guys in that really helped. But then he gets an F because the main person that you should have brought in was a quarterback. I don't think there's any
so that
question.
equals out to a D.
That's a D.
Okay. And KOC?
Ooh, I think that KOC needs to do a better job of making his offense fit the talents of his quarterback or quarterbacks as opposed to the other way around. So I'll give him a B minus.
Wow. Okay.
How's that?
He's still got to win a playoff game.
Yeah, he hasn't. I didn't say he was the best coach in Vikings history or the second best coach in Viking history, which some people actually believe. I think he's down.
Well, those people need to get off the moon and come back to Earth.
Yeah, win a playoff game.
Exactly.
First. Exactly. Okay. Okay. Topic 2 in this segment. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Timberwolves because the trade deadline is coming up, and clearly they have a point guard situation that's not working as well as it needs to be. Ant is bringing the ball up the floor too much. It takes too much out of his game. Mike Conley still can do it, but can only do it for a minimum amount of time. And they're not getting what they need out of Dillingham and the others that they have stuck out there. Bones is okay, but I think that they might need to make a move here. And I don't think Tim Conley's afraid to make moves. Your thought?
Well, no, that's clear. I mean, you look at the way he got Rudy Gobert from Utah. It was a blockbuster deal where he gave up, a ton of picks and some players. And then you look at what happened before the regular season started in 2024, when all of a sudden Karl Anthony Towns is sent to New York in the Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo trade. So Tim Conley he's not bashful. He's not shy. He will make a splash if he thinks it can help the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, there's point guard issues. I think Trae Young from Atlanta.
He's out there.
I believe he's being dangled by the Hawks. Can you find a way to get him? Is he the answer? That's the other thing you have to wonder. But you never really know until you make the deal. But I think the T-Wolves probably will do something because the West is incredibly competitive.
It certainly is, Ollie. All right. Back with more when we come back. You got it. Takes of the day. You are watching Minnesota Scores 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Hey, get your sports fix. By tuning in to 10K Takes, we cover all the Minnesota teams.
Vikings, Twins, Wild, Gophers, you name it. Fox 9 Plus and the Fox Local app.
Get in the game at St. Croix Casinos in Turtle Lake, Danbury, and Hertel, Wisconsin, your local destination for sports betting. Check out our sportsbook at St. Croix Casinos. From football and soccer to hockey and UFC, you can join the non-stop action. You'll find plenty of options to bet on with our cutting-edge Play Sports kiosks, whether placing live or prop wagers before tuning into the game. That's the book at Turtle Lake, the Red Zone at Danbury, and our sports betting kiosk at Hertel. Find your fortune at St. Croix Casinos.
10K Takes on television as we wrap up yet another show. Time for Takes of the Day. Are you going to start out 2026 in a good mood, a bad mood, somewhere in the middle? What is it today?
Quick takes today. Well, all right, buckle up. I'm in a good mood.
Oh, boy.
Yes. My alma mater, I followed them to Canton, Ohio, University of Wisconsin, River Falls, for the national championship game in Division III college football. And what an experience it was. The UW River Falls fan base showed out, and so did the Falcons. River Falls beating the defending national champions from North Central College of Naperville, Illinois, 24-14 in Canton, Ohio, in what they call the Stag Bowl. And really, they dominated the second half of that football game. For a team that was scoring 40-plus points per game in the playoffs, River Falls scored just 24, but their defense showed out. They won 24-14. They give the University of Wisconsin River Falls its first ever national championship under head coach Matt Walker. First championship of any kind. They've been playing football at River Falls since the 1890s. And this was the pinnacle for them. So congratulations to UW River Falls. Winners over North Central, who, oh, by the way, they had been to the championship game the last 6 seasons. 6 consecutive trips, 3 titles, but they didn't win back-to-back. River Falls was there to spoil it. So congrats to the UW River Falls Falcons, and I had the pleasure of calling the game on the radio. What a deal. Happy, happy, happy.
All right, and the mood meter says he is a happy camper.
Yes.
It's kind of like Halley's Comet flying through the sky. It doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't.
All right, my take of the day, I'm going to call out the Baltimore Ravens. Why in the world would you let go of John Harbaugh? That happened earlier this week. Let's see. In 18 seasons, counting the playoffs and the regular season, 193 wins.
Yeah.
How about 12 trips to the postseason? How about 4 AFC championship games? How about 1 Super Bowl trophy? If that happened here in Minnesota,
oh boy,
John Harbaugh would have a statue. There would be streets named after him. Young kids would be named after him. But in Baltimore, that's not good enough. And you know what I say to the Ravens, the other team that wears purple in the NFL? You whiffed on this one. A guy is allowed to have an off season once in a while. I am baffled that the Baltimore Ravens let go of John Harbaugh, and I think he's going to rebound quickly and land on his feet somewhere else on that NFL map.
Hopefully it's in Cleveland. We'll take him.
Yeah,
Payback.
Somebody's going to grab him. All right, thanks for checking us out. We are 10K Takes, your sports ticket.